Welcome back to Strip to the Soul, where we talk about all things inner work, self love, and everything it means to be a woman and a human in today's world. Welcome back. I'm been on it. I've been on it with the podcast episodes. I'm really trying to aim for 2 a week. So I hope you're loving listening to them. If it's your first time joining, thank you. And in today's episode, I want to dive into the healing world, okay? I want to talk about why you don't need to be healed to be loved, okay? And when you challenge this wellness culture kind of narrative, this spirituality culture narrative, you will find so much peace in your life, because I felt I was in the washing machine of healing for the longest time. And so I'm going to dive into it. It's something that so many of us feel, but I find that hardly anyone is actually addressing openly. Everyone's talking about the healing and the pressure to be healed, but no one is actually talking about just the feeling of being loved as you are. And I feel like we live in this culture that is obsessed with self-improvement. I love self-improvement. I'm all about bettering yourself, evolving, all of those things. But that can also exist at the same time as being loved for exactly who you are. Of course, there's so many tools, especially in like the wellness spiritual space. Like, it's such a popular trend now to be doing therapy and journaling and manifestation and energy work. And I think all of these things are amazing. I'm not saying that because I feel like so much of what I talk about is, self-improvement and all that. But there is this pressure to be healed, right? And I feel like there's this message everywhere that you need to fix yourself before you can get the next thing, like before the love and the connection and the intimacy. And whilst growth and reflection are beautiful, this narrative that you need to be completely healed before anyone can show up for you can be so harmful. And I truly wouldn't be the woman that I am had I not gone on such a deep spiritual healing journey. Like, when I talk about doing so many plant medicine ceremonies and doing so many somatic energy ceremonies and sessions and therapy and this and that, like, I truly have embodied it all. And I feel like I can speak from this place. I really want to explore what it means to be loved without perfection, and to be able to accept yourself in the messy in-between moments of life. And you don't need to wait to be fully healed. And why waiting to be fully healed can actually stop you from this kind of authentic connection and joy and experiencing life. Because I feel like every time I click on social media, everyone's talking about working on yourself, bettering yourself, like focusing on yourself. And whilst all that is amazing, I truly believe that the healing happens in that messy in-between middle part, when you're in the relationships and someone is mirroring your trauma back at you, or when you can actually learn from the past in the middle of an experience. And we've all been there, where we look at someone and think, wow, they have their life together, or they've done so much work on themselves, or they're very embodied, or they seem to know a lot. And it's easy to compare yourself to them. But the truth is, as you should know, and I hope you know, there is no such thing as fully healed. Not in the way, anyway, that the wellness culture kind of implies. It's kind of made out to be this destination. And I have truly learned it's a continuous practice. And every person in this world is carrying some form of, trauma, an emotional pattern, an attachment style, like all of these things we now have a language around. And I think it's amazing that we do, because we as humans can understand ourselves better, and we have a almost framework to work towards. But, anyone who seems that they are fully enlightened, I promise you, they still have moments of insecurity, and they still have fears and struggles in their life just as well. So it's kind of like, not to compare yourself to everyone you see. And if you see someone who gets up and does a meditation every morning and you're like, oh my God, I'm not there, it doesn't mean you're doing things wrong. It just means you're on your own timeline and path. And what works for you also isn't going to work for someone else. And this myth of being fully healed does create this impossible standard, and can make us feel like in some ways we're unworthy until we reach some kind of ideal version of ourselves that we maybe have created in our head. And I do think when you are, say, entering a romantic relationship, there is a fair amount of emotional work you do need to do on yourself, so that you're not dragging your past into your future. But I also know that the people who truly love us will not wait for this ideal. They show up as the human in front of you, okay? And then this human shows up as a mirror as well, because you can do all the work on yourself in private. And I have done this. And then you enter a relationship, and, a lot of problems don't reveal themselves until later on. And the pressure to be healed can show up in so many different ways in our life. Like, I know people who actively avoid dating until they #feel ready. Or, you hold back in relationships because deep down you're actually scared of like showing your wounds. And we can compare our journey to everyone else's highlight reel. And in a way, subconsciously we can feel inadequate, and this pressure in life will make you shrink or overthink or procrastinate on your life. If you think, oh, I'm not ready, I don't know enough, I haven't done enough therapy, whatever it is, you're not broken by your trauma, and you're not broken for being human. It's all a part of the human experience. And I, for 2 years, didn't date because I was so focused on myself for healing. But what was actually rooted deep down beyond that was I was afraid of being hurt again. So I felt like if I had all these tools and knew all these things and I'd done all this work on myself, I would be invincible. And that is not true, okay? That is not true. And there's a reason that we want to wait in life, wanting to be healed, feel safe, like healed from that past relationship. It's almost this buffer against vulnerability. And deep down, it's an illusion that if we fix ourselves, like I said, we won't get hurt. But here's the truth that I've come to learn. Vulnerability in life is messy. And also, life doesn't wait for perfection. You can wait to be healed, feel like, okay, I'll give myself, 6 more months, I'll do this, I'll stay isolated. You actually create this feeling of loneliness and disconnection from not only yourself, your body, but also people that can actually help you expand and grow. And the best healing, I believe, happens whilst being in love or being loved. And sometimes love doesn't just come, with all the answers. It just starts to illuminate parts of yourself that were still kind of hidden in the shadows, because love is a mirror. I believe I've said this, we're all mirrors to each other. People, they show you parts of yourself that you might not have seen, or they can share reflections in, not just romantic relationships, but friendships as well. And love doesn't have to be conditional on like having all your answers together. It shows you what you need to see. Like I said, a partner, a mentor, a friend. These people in life reflect your strengths and your blind spots, and also your edges, like your growth edges, where you still need a little bit of help to work towards something, kind of get over something. And this came to me in my life and like relationships, is like really trusting someone, really believing that they loved me for me and not just what I provided for them. And this is a scary task. Like when you give your heart to someone, it's so scary because you're being vulnerable. You're letting them see parts of you that maybe you'd prefer to hide away. And it's easy when you're doing the healing work to hide all these parts to yourself or just work on them yourself. But when you work on them with someone else, it's a whole different ball game. And you have to start to love the process of your evolution and your healing, and not just the end result, because there is no end result. You're constantly evolving, you're constantly healing, and you're constantly growing. And I truly believe that healing is enhanced by connection and not just there to replace it. And when you shift from this waiting to be ready in life, waiting, for the right moment, I see it often, like people were like, hurt from dating apps or a bad experience, so they just cut them off altogether. And it's kind of made me question, like, is that really the answer? Or is it just avoidance? Because you can be sitting on the sidelines waiting to be ready, but this permission slip is never going to be handed to you. You have to show up fully as you are and not let the things that have happened to you dictate how you're going to move forward in your life. And I truly believe that you don't have to have fixed everything or healed every wound or solved every problem to be able to deserve love. We are all already worthy of being seen and accepted as who we are, the flawed, the imperfect, the one who's made mistakes. And I found so often in my life, I shamed parts of my past because of mistakes I had made, with kind of only knowing what I did then. And even if I knew better at the time and I still made that mistake, I had to go on that journey to grow and evolve. And by showing up as just this raw version of me, it's not to say that I'm not also trying to grow and be better and choose different and do different, but I also need the opportunity to be different and do different. And that means combining the authenticity with curiosity and with a space to kind of explore that in and explore a new relationship. It does mean being willing to be human in the company of people who support you. And there, I find, is sometimes this fear or guilt around love and healing, where we are still apologizing for parts of us that are still evolving. And so it's really easy to put things on pause, not move forward in a relationship, or not even explore a relationship, because you're still trying to meet invisible standards within yourself. And I find that people are waiting. I waited, not even in relationships, but I've done that as well. But I waited to start sharing my voice. I waited to write a book. I waited to start a podcast because I felt like I wasn't ready. I felt like I had more healing to do. I felt like I had more work to be done. And although all that work wasn't lost, all that healing wasn't lost, of course it meant something. It helped me evolve. But there's also a beauty in evolving in the process of it. And you can apply that to love as well. And it's a reflection of your courage to be fully yourself in that moment. And it's funny because I look back at old videos and like YouTube and stuff that I share. That's the beauty of like podcasts and YouTube. You can really like tune into an old version of yourself and the energy that you were in there. And you can be like, wow, I've grown so much, or I know so much better now. And it's not even just to do with spirituality. This can apply to your relationship with food, or the relationship you had with your parents, or how you viewed a situation that you would view completely differently now. And that is also okay. It's okay to have changed and evolved, but what's not okay is waiting until you're this perfect evolved version of yourself to actually go and do the damn thing. I'm talking about relationships mostly in this because I really had to learn that one, but I also can apply it to having goals and dreams in life, or wanting to make something happen, because I found that when I put things off, other people were still going after those dreams. Other people were still making those relationships happen. And I'm out here, focusing on myself, on the healing, on the, bettering myself, when really I'm looking on social media, well, I was at the time, at these people who were in happy relationships and getting engaged or doing things with their partners. And I was like, deep down craving that. But also at the same time, I was choosing not to have that in my life because I was so focused on my healing. The same thing goes to, starting a podcast. I was so adamant that I wasn't ready, that I needed to learn more, that I didn't know enough, that there was people out there who knew more than me. And so I compared myself to them, and I kept on learning and trying to be a better version of myself. And although all those things are wonderful, it's not going to help you in the very moment. And you never know that choice that you make could actually be the choice that was needed in order for you to get to the next step, or that date that you're resistant to go on because you've been burnt in the past by an ex is actually the person that's meant for you. I do believe, however, that opportunities won't miss you if they are meant for you, but I don't always think they come back in the same form. If you miss an opportunity and someone else gets it, or you say no to a date and then that person ends up with someone else, maybe they'll never come back. And that's why it's important to constantly just put yourself out there and go after the thing that you want if it's true for you, even if it feels a little bit uncomfortable and messy. And it's not to say that we don't need to take time for ourselves, say when we are in our single phase. I have an old episode and it's all about stewarding your singleness and how you can be bettering yourself in that phase, where you can work on your attachment styles that might be a little bit unhealthy, or whatever it is. But I also can see now, as this evolved future version of me who's maybe learned a little bit more, that you can take that into a relationship. And if you have awareness around it, enough awareness that you can conversate it, you don't need to heal it by yourself, okay? Say you have been hurt in the past. I'll use myself as an example. by someone who lied to me, by someone who said they were somewhere where they were somewhere else, when they said they were alone, when they were actually seeing someone else. And I could avoid going into a new relationship until I healed this anxious attachment, right? But that same healing can be done if I enter a relationship and say vulnerably, hey, my ex was a little bit untrustworthy. Communication is important to me. It would help me feel more secure. That gives you an opportunity in that very moment to heal the thing that once caused you pain and trauma. All of a sudden, this person is now there to be a support for you, to help you grow, to help you heal. And then this person can give you what you need so you feel more secure within yourself. Not only are obviously you're getting this off this person. You can't rely on someone else to give you that. You create security in yourself to ask for what you want. You recognize that you are imperfect, right? You are not this perfect person. You have a past. You have emotions as well, as a woman especially. And we have insecurities. That's okay. We're not meant to be this perfectly secure person, but you are confident enough to ask for what you want, and you'll be met with that energy as well. And if someone isn't meeting you with that energy, you know that that person isn't right for you. And so when I look back in my life, I don't regret much, but I do feel saddened for that version of me who was single and alone for those 2 years when I really did desire intimacy from a partner, because I know how beautiful life can be when you're with someone. And if you really are in that energy of, no, I want to be single, I want to do the healing, that is okay. That's not to say that you must be in a relationship and you need to be with someone to heal. But what I am saying is stop putting off the things that you truly want, right? Because you think you need to be more than what you are. If something is in your heart and it is a desire, you can't be the one to block yourself from those opportunities, and you can't be the one to get in your own way. I feel like so often in life we are actually blocking ourselves what's already meant for us. When I was writing my book, I kind of at first was like, well, who am I to write a book? What do I know? I'm only 31. How can I write a memoir? I was actually only 29 at the time, when I started writing. And I even had people kind of say like, oh, you're not that old, like that's a lot of life to write about, when I could easily compare myself to someone who's like 70, has a lot more life experience. But there's more time for that. There's more time to grow, and there's more time to evolve, and in that aspect there was more books to come from me. And it's the same for you. Like you can enter a relationship and it could be 2 years or 2 months or 2 weeks after your previous one. It doesn't matter the timeline. What matters is the energy of what you're going into something with. And I feel like if you're going into something and you have brought awareness to your past and you've reflected on it, and you also have found your own mistakes, you know yourself how you want to move forward. And you also, if you're true to who you are and you're trusting your intuition, you'll know what's right for you and you'll know what's wrong for you. You'll know when it's the right time and when it's not the right time. However, I have found that so often I'm like seeing my friends talk about it, or people online, and they're like, putting something down because they've had a bad experience of it in the past, and they feel like, they need to do more healing or more this or more that until it's available to them. And that's not true. Life isn't going to wait for you. You have to be the one to put yourself out there and claim what you want and actually embody who it is that you want to be. And just because you've had 1 or 2 or 3 or 5 bad experiences in the past doesn't mean that that's going to be your experience moving forward. If you believe that that's going to be your experience, then that is going to be the experience. If you believe that all men are bad, you're never going to attract a good guy in. If you believe that something's not possible, why would it be possible for you? You can't wait for someone to show you that it is. You have to believe that it is, ask for it, and also be in that energy of it. And also just accept yourself, having compassion for yourself, that you don't need to be fully healed ever. I don't think there's ever an amount of healing sessions, therapy sessions, whatever it is, until you're ready. That is just a process of time and aging and maturity. And sure, I've done therapy a lot when I've gone through some hard times, but not as a way to heal me, as something that was there to support me, right? That therapist was there to support me, someone to talk to, work through things with. And you can apply the same thing to a relationship, a friend, a mentor, whatever it is. It's having someone there to work on yourself with you. And it comes from a positive energy. It doesn't come from this wounded victim mentality. It comes from a place of like wanting to be a better person, wanting to learn from your past, allowing someone to point out your flaws in a positive way so that you can be better, whilst also they're not there to fix you or change you inherently. Just as you're not trying to change or fix yourself, you're just trying to shine light on the darker parts of you that might have been overlooked, or the shadow aspects of yourself, and then bring them into your awareness so you can work on them, like I said, with time, over time. And that is just the journey of healing. It's never ending. And I think we just need to stop chasing this like hashtag healed version of ourselves. Okay, we're just humans. Can we just accept that? And we make mistakes and we grow and we learn, and healing is beautiful in that, feeling at peace with things, accepting things, making room at the table for the older versions of you that didn't know better, but not denying them or forgetting them. It's, those things that have happened. Have I healed from them? Or have I accepted them and learned that they're all a part of my life and my experience, and I can choose different next time? I think that is the healing, actually. And so I just wanted to share that and just say, as someone who's really gone through it, and I've gone on a really deep healing journey myself, you don't need to wait in life to be loved, or for the opportunity, or for the job, or for this final destination, because all you have is the here and now, who you are in this very moment. And the more you can learn to love and accept her, I feel the happier and more at peace you'll be. So I hope you enjoyed my little ramble today. I find that if something's on my heart, I just feel super called to share, especially going into this year when we have all our goals and expectations and all these things for our life, right? It's really prominent energy, and I'm all for like amping people up on their goals for the year, but it's also at the same time having those goals and also holding space for just who you are in this very, very moment. So thank you for sitting with me on this episode. If you're on a walk, in the car, wherever you are, if it resonated with you, please share it with someone who feels like they're constantly doing the healing and never being fixed. And just remember that being loved doesn't require perfection. It really truly requires presence and honesty and the courage to show up exactly as who you are in this very moment. And just remember to keep on being you. Keep on obviously working on yourself. Like, I'm all about that, like self-growth and self-mastery and all that. But life will always throw you curveballs. Old traumas will resurface. You'll get triggered. People will annoy you. Thus is life, right? And that is just the beauty of it. And when we can see life as that kind of like ever evolving and changing, and kind of like it's never smooth sailing. It's never smooth. It's an up and down. Oh, do you know what? I'd like to think of it as a circle, right? Sometimes there's down, sometimes there's up. And the more you can just flow with it, the happier you'll be. But yeah, just stop waiting. If you want something, go and get it. Invite it into your life and create space for it in your life and opportunities to create it happen, rather than being the one to block it out of your own life. So that's it. I will see you next time. I'm trying to post 2 episodes a week, so I hope you're enjoying them. If you haven't yet subscribed to the podcast, please give it a little subscribe, rate the show, share it with a friend, all that jazz. And also, if you haven't got a copy of my book yet, Stripped to the Soul, it is available for pre-order on Amazon and Barnes & Noble if you're in the USA. Mwah! I'll see you in the next episode.